A third film in the Descendants franchise was confirmed long before the showrunners actually had a chance to announce it. Uma's ominous line at the end of the second film practically had fans falling out of their chairs. That's how big the Descendants franchise is. And while we eagerly listened to every line, analyzed every scene, and tried to connect the metaphorical dots, there was nothing in the third film that hinted at there being a fourth. Descendants 4 is set to be released in 2023. Who will be reprising their roles? Are there any new characters in the fourth film? And most importantly, how will they weave in Carlos's disappearance from the franchise? All that and a whole lot more in today's video. Will there be a Descendants 4? The fourth installment in the American musical fantasy film franchise was a long shot. To begin with, Cameron Boyce, the actor who played Cruella de Vil's son Carlos, untimely passed away in 2019 ahead of the third installment's release. Fans of the franchise couldn't imagine a Descendants film without Carlos. But the show must go on. It would have been what Boyce would have wanted. Descendants 4 is officially happening. And while we're ecstatic to be the ones to tell you that, something tells us you might have already known it was up for release. This might have something to do with the fact that Disney itself announced the expected release of not one, but two installments in the franchise a while before the third film had already been released. However, one of the lead actors of the franchise passed away shortly before the third film's release. We're talking about the lovable Cameron Boyce, who played and later reprised his role as Carlos, the young VK who overcame his fear of dogs. Boyce's unfortunate passing, coupled with pandemic restrictions, and Disney decided it was best to go radio silent over a potential fourth film, both out of respect for Boyce and because COVID-19 restrictions wouldn't have allowed them to do much. This was back in 2019. Then in 2021, the showrunners of the previous three films announced that a fourth film was definitely happening, and production had already begun. When we tell you we were screaming, we mean absolutely wailing. Here's everything we know about the plot so far. First of all, the fourth film is titled Descendants: The Pocket Watch. We'll give you a second here to put two and two together. Where else in the Disney universe have you seen a pocket watch? You might want to go down the rabbit hole if you know what we mean. Pause the video and comment your guesses down below. All right, so the answer is Alice in Wonderland. Seems fairly obvious now, doesn't it? The fourth film will focus on an Alice in Wonderland-ish theme with two new characters, Red, daughter of the Queen of Hearts, and Chloe, daughter of Cinderella, going back in time to prevent a catastrophic event from happening in Aradan. What's the event? We have no idea. That's about as much as the showrunners were willing to give us, and to be fair, it's more than enough. We're just happy there'll be a fourth film. But wait, will this film feature the OG VKs? Who's coming back for Descendants 4? The award-winning filmmaker Jennifer Fang is directing the film from the scripts written by Russell Summer and Dan Fry. Mark Hoffling is returning as a production designer and Gary Marsh as executive producer. Fang will be replacing Kenny Ortega. The filmmaker has won numerous accolades for her work on The Flight Attendant and Foundation. The real question, however, is will there be a role for Carlos in the fourth film? Boyce's unfortunate passing left a void in the Descendants franchise that's too big for anyone to fill. Carlos de Vil was his most popular role yet. Will anyone dare fill those shoes? Ricardo Hurtado stepped up to the podium. The American actor and star of School of Rock has been cast to play the role of Carlos in the upcoming Descendants film. So that leaves us with Mao, Evie, Jay, and Ben, the VK's plus one. Given the premise of the film, we have a feeling we won't be saying the original cast much. This might not entirely be a bad thing either. The ending of the third film brought the events of the first film to a full circle. Basically, wait, spoilers ahead. If you haven't seen any of the Descendants films yet, we'd strongly advise you to do so before proceeding. You have been warned. Basically, the VKs have turned over a new leaf, and Mao in particular is ready to become the Queen of Aradan after Ben proposes, and she accepts. This means that she has to make some grave decisions about the kingdom's relationship with the Isle of the Lost. That's where she's from, and that's where all the villains were exiled after they wreaked chaos in Aradan. But somewhere along the line, Mao realizes the Isle of Lost deserves the same shot she got when Ben allowed 4 VKs, that stands for Villain Kids, by the way, to come to Aradan for a shot at a better life. This coupled with Audrey's attempts to making her life miserable, and Mao decided it would be best if she'd be the queen of the Isle of the Lost instead. She's still together with Ben, in case you were wondering. How can we be sure? Well, while a fourth film was long in the making, Disney did release a one-off to keep fans calm while they waited. Everything we found out from Descendants: The Royal Wedding. The first Descendants film was released in 2015, the second came 2 years later in 2017, and then a third in 2019. Based on those odds, a fourth film should have been released sometime in 2021. With Boyce's passing and pandemic restrictions, production was halted until further notice. However, Disney needed to find a way to keep fans engaged while they waited on the fourth film. How would you navigate a film's production, marketing, and release when you can't have more than 6 people in a room owing to pandemic regulations? Pretty easily, in fact. You replace the people with animated characters. In 2021, Disney released a spin-off animated short of the main film's title, Descendants: The Royal Wedding. The animated release followed up on the events of the third film, wherein Ben and Mal decided to get married, plus Mal mended her relationship with her father, Hades. Yep, the Greek god himself. Wait, does that make Mal a goddess? Comment down below. The animated short essentially picks up where the third film left off, with Mal and Ben planning their wedding, all the while Hades is trying his best to keep out of their way since he can only evoke mischief wherever he goes. To Hades' credit, the poor guy just wants to do right by his daughter, with whom he hasn't had a relationship in a long while. This was Disney's first release in the Descendants franchise after Boyce's passing, and the production house announced that The Royal Wedding would be a tribute to the late actor. Carlos wasn't anywhere to be seen in the animated film, and while death is a pretty grave subject to showcase on a Disney animated film, Mal briefly mentions how she misses Carlos, an ode to the late actor's passing. While the one-off was indeed as humorous as it was wholesome, it didn't necessarily point toward a fourth film. Again, it had been 2 years since the third film had been released, and fans were sure they'd be queuing at cinemas by then for Descendants 4. Major changes in D4. The film was going to be different. That much was a given, but fans were a bit shell-shocked to learn just how different it would end up being. To start off, the original VKs will not be making a return in the fourth film. This might be owing to the fact that their character arcs finished in the third film, plus the revelation that the lead actress, Dove Cameron, couldn't find it in herself to make a fourth film without Boyce. When asked if she'd join the cast for a fourth film, Cameron responded, "I'm going to say no, because I don't think it would be the same without the whole original cast. It would just be different now, and also, we did it. We told a full story. We completed it." It's not just Cameron either. Evie and Jay will also be cut from the fourth film after their actors announced they were moving on to other projects. The adults, however, might still reprise their roles. This does pave way for a new era of VKs, one that'd probably be led by China Anne or her character Uma, daughter of Ursula. The film will focus on new characters, Red, the daughter of the Queen of Hearts, and Chloe, the daughter of Cinderella, played by Kylie Cantrell and Dara Renee. Some fans aren't happy. You'd think any fan of the franchise would have been absolutely thrilled to hear that a fourth film was set to be released. Well, you'd be losing money on that bet. There's an active group of fans on Twitter who are trying their best to halt the release of any subsequent films. Why? Because it wouldn't be the same without Cameron Boyce. To be fair, we can sympathize with their statement. Boyce was a major part of the franchise. He made the films homely and hilarious, and we can't really see the original movie without tearing up a little. Boyce died in 2019, a few months ahead of the film's third release, owing to complications from his epilepsy. The young actor was found unresponsive in his LA home and was pronounced dead on the scene when paramedics arrived. Boyce's passing was shocking, to say the least. The young actor had only been 20 years old at the time and was gearing up towards becoming a household name. His agent revealed that he actually had several projects in the pipeline, and Boyce would have lived his dream to become one of the most famous actors in Hollywood in no time. So when Disney announced that they'd be moving on without him, it didn't sit well with some fans who believed it'd be disrespectful to the late actor's legacy. After all, Descendants 3 was released in honor of Boyce. A few fans believed that a fourth film would be in vain, since the franchise could never move forward without the actor or the original cast members. What do you think? Would Boyce have wanted the films to go on or not? Also, are people right to say that a fourth release would be disrespectful? Let us know. When can you expect to see Descendants 4? Descendants 4 is coming to screens in the summer of 2023. The film's crew has revealed that production is underway and will wrap up around the start of 2023, which means the film will make it to Disney viewers by the summer, much like the other 3 releases in the franchise. Descendants isn't just a film anymore. It's Disney's most popular franchise in recent times, racking up close to $1 billion with all 3 movies, novelizations, animated series, and much more. We knew the production house wasn't going to let it slip by for nothing, and we're happy they held on. But with the drama surrounding the film's release, we can't help but wonder if a fourth film will be better or damaging for the franchise. For context, the events of the third film didn't necessarily hint at there being a fourth film, and some fans believe Disney's still riding high from the success. A fourth film without the main cast and with an altered storyline might damage the franchise's legacy. What do you think? Let us know in the comments. Don't forget to like this video, hit the subscribe button for more content you don't want to miss.